Hi everyone, welcome to the DSA it was a DSA series of Striver. So now today we'll be solving this question, that is find the number that appears once and the other numbers twice. So now let's quickly look in this question. So this is the question. So given a non-empty array, we will be given a non-empty array consisting of integers num. So we are given an array non-empty array of consisting integers, of course, that is nums. The array name is nums, and every element appears twice except for one. So what is said, and find here in this array every element will be appearing twice except for one element that will be only appearing once. So here 2 is appearing twice and only 1 is appearing once, so 1 will be the output. Here again we have 2 is appearing twice and 1 is also appearing twice, so 4 is the one which is appearing only once, so or single time, so the output will be 4. So we have to return the element which is appearing once. So you must implement the solution with a linear runtime complexity and use only constant extra space. Okay. So we for this solution we have three approaches, that is the brute, better, and the optimal. So now let me go with the brute. It's very simple. Of course, you can again similarly we are using a counter loops, and we are just checking like the previous question we have done. We have used a counter loops to check the appearance of this question. Maximum consecutive ones present. We have used a counter and a maxi variable, right? Similarly, here what I have done, I have taken a for loop and I have taken initialize this num, a variable which is equals to num size, the element of that nums array. Okay, I have initialized that into num and I have taken a variable, counter variable. So what I'm checking here in the first for loop, and first for loop is basically traversing in the main array, and I have used a second for loop. So basically it's like two pointer approach, not really, but using a two for loop. So again I am doing a taking a for loop, second for loop, and I'm traversing it. And if num j is equals to num, that particular element, because element will be keep on switching, as soon as 2 will come then it will check 2, again if 2 comes then again it will check 2. If num j is equals to num present in the elements, then counter will be plus plus, so 2 will come twice here, so counter will be 2, right? But 1 will come once here, so counter will be 1. So if counter is equals to 1, then return that num which is appearing once, and return -1 to avoid some other cases like nominality array or any other extra issues. And the time complexity will be, of course, big of n square, right? Because inside a single for loop we have another for loop, and n into n is, of course, this both the for loops are inside one each other, right? So you have n square. It's both are not separately, so otherwise it will be big of n, right? And the space complexity will be, of course, big of 1, because we did not use any shade vectors, maps, anything, right? Okay, so now let's look in the better approach. Okay, so the better approach for this, we can use maps, another maps. I would definitely use maps, because another map sometimes it have a worse time complexity of like big of n square, so better to use the map. And here I have taken map int. This first int is basically the element in itself. See, here we have, let's say the example 1. So we have 2, 2 and 1, right? So this first int is basically 1 and then 2. These two elements here are basically the first int, that is the first counting them. How many times 1 is appearing? Once, right? How many times 2 is appearing? Twice. Don't, like suppose let's take it like this. Okay, this will be confused. And 3 is appearing twice, right? And 1 is appearing once, right? Okay, let's make this 1, 2. So this first int here is basically the element itself, and the second it counts the number of times the elements have occurred, the frequency. this is the thing how maps work. So I've initialized a map here, and then I'm running a for loop to count the frequency of the elements in the map. And now I'm iterating in the map and checking if any element is the, if the count the frequency, that is the here I have taken second here because this is the first, this is this first int is called first and the second one is called second, which actually second one checks the frequency. If the frequency or the second is equals to 1, then return it dot first, return the element that first takes the element itself, right? So that is the answer for this better approach. And we have the time complexity of big O of n log n, of course, for this part. This big O of n is for the for loop and log m is basically for the map, right? And that's why I've written m, and plus om because here we have used a map to iterate in the map. And what will be the space complexity? Of course big O of m, right? And here m is equals to n by 2 plus 1, because see, because in the question it is given that every element is appearing twice, so n by 2 of course, right? It won't be, the complete size is not n, it's n by 2. Everyone is except appearing n by 2 times, and only one element is appearing once, that's why plus 1. That's the answer. So big of n, and this is the better better approach for this question, right? Now let's do the optimal. In the previous videos we have learned about the XOR function, right? How it helps us to find different solution for this type of question, right? So anything I have already taught you, right? Like let's say once again, XOR of 3 is 0, right? XOR of that number itself, like XOR of that number is always 3, but XOR of any number with 0 is equals to that number itself, right? This is basically the formula to find XOR of any number with that number will be 0, but XOR of any number with 0 will be always that number, right? This is the formulas, just remember it always. So I've taken I've taken a variable that's x or XOR to find the XOR, and I'm traversing the for loop, and I'm checking the XOR of that nums, this array, because this, whenever we use the XOR function, this will basically return us that only bichara, like only that बिचारा will be left out in the given array without जिसका XOR नहीं हुआ, who did not go through the XOR function. So that return x I have done. So it will basically do the XOR operation inside the for loop of all these numbers that is present in the array, and it will return that single element who is left out. I called it bichara. So yeah, this is the final answer. And what will be the time complexity? Of course big of n, one for loop I have used here, and the space complexity will be of course be big of 1. So this is the solution basically they have expected from us. So I hope you loved it. If you did, then yeah, give a thumbs up. I say it's not necessary. Yeah. So thank you for watching. Bye. Have a good day.